Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, welcome to it. This is the Private Property Podcast. I am your host, Sibsma Tiela, and like we always do, we're going to talk about all things property because of privateproperty.co.za. We love to connect you to the heart of property, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't know everything there is to know, but that's why I bring in the experts. Today, we are speaking to Justin Cohen, an internationally renowned speaker and best-selling author. Justin, welcome.
Thanks, Sibs. Great to be here.
Listen, what brings you into property things?
What brings me into property things? Well, firstly, delighted to be the keynote speaker at the Real Estate Industry Summit. So looking forward to speaking to 1,500 people a little bit later. But I have a personal passion for property because I am a buy-to-let investor.
Okay.
Small scale, but I've been doing it for a few years. And I always say to people, if you're looking for an income stream and in my case, an alternative income stream, an additional income stream, a few better things than property. It's just a beautiful asset class. I absolutely love it. And I've got this passion for it because it's so wonderful buying a property and doing it up, and then I guess I get a lot of joy about thinking about that tenant who's going to be in there and the joy that they're going to have, right, in being there. So yeah, really delighted to be on the podcast.
I love this for you, Justin, because obviously you get to branch out from being, this very successful writer, recently a doctor, I believe.
A doctor, yes. Although if you are in an airplane and you need some medical help, you better hope I'm not the only doctor on the plane.
What would you do on that plane? If
What
they were like,
would
is there
I
a
do?
doctor
Is there
in the
a
house?
doctor? I might just sort of hold back on revealing that credential. I guess I could motivate you, bring in a little bit of a mind-body connection there, but yes, nothing
Medical.
more than that. Yeah, medical, thank
Just
you.
a bit of human transformation here and there.
Exactly.
Justin, obviously with the amount of work you've done, speaking in over 30 different countries worldwide over a 20-year period, what are some of the most valuable lessons you have learned? I mean, obviously when you do the kind of work that you do, people sort of look to you to be that voice of reason or taking their little crib notes, like this is what Justin said, this is what I need to do. But for you personally, where would you say the growth points have been located along this journey?
Well, firstly, success is not something we ever arrive at. We just visit. So it's ongoing. And I certainly don't ever feel that I know it all. I mean, we just simply don't. There's too much, and that's exciting. I call it the ecstasy of curiosity. I'm a student of success, and I love exploring, and I'm trying out and experimenting myself. And sometimes things work, and sometimes they don't. So I think it's really important to perhaps be humble, about this, and not ever assume that we've got it all sorted out. Be continual learners, as the Japanese say, kaizen, continual improvements. And this is why I love the Private Property Podcast and the Real Estate Summit, because it's providing people with those educational opportunities that we often don't get in the formal sector. I always joke that the world is run by dropouts. Bill Gates and Larry Ellison and Steve Jobs and Richard Branson.
It's true, but stay in school.
It's true, but stay in school. Exactly. As a friend of mine runs it, those may not be everybody. I think the point of that is, and I love education. Just came back to school at midlife and absolutely love it. But I think the point is, Sibs, that we can't just rely on formal education.
Yeah.
And that's why I think what Private Property is doing is so important with this podcast and with these events is that we've got to provide people with these learning opportunities.
Justin, some would say that you wrote this book specifically for real estate agents. It's called Pitch to Win. Tell me how you came about with this.
So like every book I write, I always first write it for me. So I had...
What did you have to pitch?
Well, you're always pitching. So that's the point, right? Life is a pitch, right? I mean, right now we are pitching one another our ideas,
yeah.
right? And that's the people think, well, you often hear people say, I hate selling. We are all in selling. And by the way, nobody hates selling when they get the deal.
True.
Nobody hates selling when you convince your partner where you want to go on holiday, right? Because that's a sell, right? It's what we hate is rejection. And the truth is, we've got to get over that rejection thing, because it's on the other side of rejection that the deal is actually done. This book should be called Pitch to Lose and Lose and Lose and Lose and Lose and Lose and Lose, so
and then win at the end.
Right? And that's why persistence is so critical in this game. But yeah, I had already written a number of books, but I felt like I'd sort of hit a ceiling with my career. And I realized it was because I wasn't putting enough focus on pitching, marketing, selling. And I developed this model, the 6-step TOPS model for myself. I applied it. My own results exploded. I pitched and won my own CNBC Africa television talk show, publishing deals that I'd only ever dreamt of. And I thought, mission accomplished. And then clients started to ask me to share this with them, different industries. And I realized, my mission, the reason I'm on this planet, is I equip and inspire people and organizations to realize their potential. If that's my mission, well, if I don't know how to pitch, I'm not going to be able to fulfill my potential. So this is something that is critical for me, but what I realized is actually critical for everyone. And that's why I then created the program, and I have a keynote presentation, which I doing at the Real Estate Summit. And the truth is, I kind of think of myself as providing pitching to people who don't think of themselves as salespeople. I do a lot of work with sales teams, but I also do a lot of work with consultants and, even engineers and accountants, because everybody needs to know how to do this. It's about influence.
Tell me, what are if someone was reading the book, what is the one thing you'd want them to take away from it and just always remember?
Well, I'm gonna focus on 2. I'm gonna give you double your money. And the first is actually something that Amasi and I were chatting about the other day. Amasi, of course, being the CEO of Private Property. And when we were talking about the Real Estate Summit and what he wanted me to talk about, he said, look, as much as I want you to talk about pitching and this program, these 6 steps, so that the real estate agents can go out there and close more deals and get those mandates. He said, I really want you to focus on positivity. Because right now, particularly in South Africa, there's a lot of negativity, and I think sometimes in South Africa we think it's all here. The truth is, globally right now we got some challenges. I mean, I'm just having a look in 9 developed countries, property prices are going down significantly. Canada, Germany, New Zealand, much of Europe, we're seeing plummeting in some cases, in some areas, by as much as 10%, right? We may be on the brink of a recession, but you know what? Guess what Microsoft, Burger King, and General Electric have in common? They all started during a recession. There are always opportunities. And so Marcy was saying, I just want people to, look at the hole rather than the ring, right? Or rather, people are looking at the hole, they need to look at the ring, right? And the donut, right? We need to see what we have rather than what we don't. And he's absolutely right, because it's the TOPS model, TTOPPS, and the O is optimism. And Sips, it turns out that the top salespeople, the biggest psychological drive of top salespeople is optimism, is the belief that I will eventually get the deal. Why? Why is optimism so important? Well, the most important number I'm going to share with you today is 12. 12 is the amount of exposures to a new product, service, brand, or business before people feel comfortable enough to buy.
Oh, hectic. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just be very clear. When it comes to sex, no means no. When it comes to business, no does not mean no. No means not now.
Tell me 12 times.
Tell me 12 times. We've all got something called the stranger syndrome. We're inherently skeptical of new product, services, and things. And that's because of our caveman brains, because back then, that new person could, be a killer, right?
Yeah.
So we are skeptical. And so, but familiarity doesn't breed content. Familiarity breeds sales. So who's going to persist? Who's going to go through 12 times? The optimist, right? So, to Mazi's point, if we are to sell more, we need to fundamentally shift our mindset, right? We've got to be more positive. That's critical.
Tell me, obviously the art of sale has more to do, it's not just about the individual or the product, that you're selling. It's got to do with a whole range of emotions, needs, sort of service.
Exactly.
How do you think people can best go about sort of doing that, especially now speaking to people in the real estate space?
Right. Well, so we were chatting a little bit earlier about Single Wives, which was a show that I was delighted.
So that's where I know Justin from. I knew I recognized him as soon as he walked into studio. He's from that reality TV show, The Single Wives.
And I was...
And you were a relationship coach.
I was just so delighted that my mother wasn't the only one watching the show.
No, we were watching.
And so for that show, I wrote another book called Winning with Relationships. And it's winning with relationships both in love and in business. Because so much of what's
Are they
required,
similar?
They're very similar. You know, it's about listening, appreciation, and fundamentally, it's the 21 laws of influence. The first law, the most important in love and in business, give to get. You want to get more, you need to give more. You want your partner to give more, you need to give more. Be the first cause. It starts with you. Now, the same thing is in business. Let me give you an example of this. It's just happened. So last year, I moved to Cape Town along with everybody else. And I need to sell my property in Joburg, right? So I've kept the property for a while. I've been letting it out, but now I've decided I want to sell it. It's been hard to sell because I'm really passionate about property, and it's a penthouse on the top of a building. It's got
fancy.
It's got this right. It's got this roof garden overlooking this beautiful. People don't realize how beautiful Joburg is.
It's stunning,
it's stunning, right?
It's polluted, but it's
really,
beautiful.
But, you know, honestly, so when I look from my roof, you just see trees. I mean, that's, they call this the biggest non-commercial man-made
jungle
in the world. And you can see it, right? So that's why it was hard for me to let it go. There's a jacuzzi, there's a day bed. It's like, it's my little baby. And then finally I was like, look, Cape Town was a little bit of an experiment, and now I'm going to be staying there. But so now I've got to sell it, right? So there's about 3 agents who I was talking to. Everybody wants a sole mandate, right? And I get it, right? You got the sole mandate. It means that you're probably going to be the one who does that deal.
Yeah.
And I've always been reluctant to give anybody a sole date. So sole dates, sole date sometimes, sole mandate is because, you feel like you're a little cornered, right? I guess it is a bit commitment phobe, right? That I am. But
not you, Nancy. Give me options.
Right, exactly. So why did I give one person the sole mandate?
Why?
I'll tell you why. Very simple. So remember this. This is a penthouse. There's an interior and there's a roof garden. There's a stairway going up to the roof garden. So the agent that I gave the mandate to, she said to me, what would be amazing here is if you could make a lift going from the interior to the roof, because that means that if we were selling to an elderly couple who are retiring, so she's immediately starting to think of target market. I was just thinking that the person's probably going to be somebody like me. Of course, she's thinking more broad, and she's saying, there's a good chance, particularly the area that I'm in, it's a Killarney area, Killarney Riviera area. That would be, so I was like, well, I don't know. So she said, well, I'm going to find out. So I was like, just to be clear, I'm not putting a lift in. No. She said, I just want to know, because if we can then tell them, that'll make a big difference. So I'm like, that sounds good. She goes, she finds out, not only does she find out, she gets a quote for the lift. Yes, it is possible. So structurally, we can put a lift in, and she gets a quote. And now she can go to elderly couples and say, hey, just so you know,
I've got something for you. Yeah.
So who did I give the sole mandate to, right? Duh. Of course, I gave it to her. Why, Sibs? Because she understood this very simple principle. Serve before you sell. Serve before you sell. Once she had done that, I would have felt, quite frankly, like a bit of an a-hole if I didn't give it to her. This was somebody who'd put in the time and the energy and effort and was actually increasing the chances of making this sell. So one of the core principles of Pitch to Win is purpose. Realizing that it's not just about you. Purpose it's about service. It's about contribution. Imagine you've got 2 people. They both got the same product. The one, you get the sense they just want the deal so that they can earn the commission. The other, you get the sense they really care about you. In fact, they care about you so much that you imagine that if they felt you were not the right person for this property, in this case, they would say so, right? Who are you going to ultimately do the deal with? The one who has really got your interests and cares about you. So purpose is a major driver. In fact, research at Wharton Business shows purpose-driven salespeople sell 50% more than their more mercenary counterparts.
Justin, before I let you go, you've spoken about, pitching to win, and sales aside. If we talk about the human condition, a lot of us are recovering from a really sort of tricky place, having been like a global pandemic. We lost a lot of people. There's a lot going on around the world, in the country, just shady stuff. and you either sort of become desensitized or you lose hope and you lose optimism because it's a lot of just negative energy.
Right.
And it becomes difficult to be an optimist in the face of all of this. So I suppose what I would ask you is how does one maintain a sense of optimism when it seems as though the world around you is a dumpster fire?
Right. Well, firstly, get this, Microsoft, General Electric, Burger King, all of those companies, what do they have in common? They started during a recession. There are opportunities everywhere. I do some work in Zimbabwe. There are people who became dollar millionaires when the Zim dollar turned into, I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to talk about the Zim dollar. So there were people who were able to create real wealth, right? And that means there's always opportunities. You think in property right now. Well, so what are the opportunities? So yes, interest rates are going up. So that means, yes, it's tougher to buy a property. But guess what? That means that there are more people who need to sell a property. And there are always investors looking for a bargain, right? So we've got to broaden our sense of possibility, right? Instead of just focusing on the problem, we need to focus on the solution. Every market has its opportunities. Every market, that's this idea of choosing not to participate in the recession. Well, absolutely. Why are there always people who thrive? I've heard people say to me, Justin, wow, we just can't get bonds. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Try and do a joint sale or an installment sale or find one of those cash buying investors, right? I get it. Easier said than done, but it's possible. It happens. But if you just go, well, I can't, right? It's what I call a why I can't story. You say you can't, you don't, right? Give us the why I can story. You're feeling demotivated right now. Write down 5 reasons why you can. Put that goal down. Write down the reasons why you can. Because, as Henry Ford said, you think you can, you think you can't, you're always right.
Yeah.
You're always right. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
But I am really sympathetic to people who are struggling emotionally. We have seen increases in anxiety and depression and burnout. And that's one of the reasons, in fact, this is something that I focused on in my doctorate, is why I developed a program called the Breakthrough Training. And if anybody's looking for some support, we've got, I think, a free download at the moment. If they go to breakthroughwithdrj.com, so it's just the word breakthrough with Dr. J, drj.com. There's some great resources there to just help anybody who really is struggling right now. And if you are struggling at the moment, just know this. You're not broken. You're not defective. There is a way through. There is a way over. You say, I've hit a brick wall. There's a way. There's a door. There's a window. There's a ladder. Sometimes it's about just putting up a painting and enjoying the wall for a little until you figure out, how else you're going to do this.
Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, Justin Cohen, Dr. Justin Cohen, buy the book, Pitch to Win, and you will inevitably learn to pitch to win. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you can come back and talk to us some more.
Thank you so much.
This was definitely not enough time. Also, I need some relationship advice off the camera, and I'm sure other people do. If you're watching this, just leave a comment in the comment section if you want me to ask Dr. Justin any questions about your relationship. Okay, that's all I've got for you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you on the next episode of the Private Property Podcast.